All right, we are back in public session. During this portion of the meeting, members of the public are invited to address the Board of Education on any topic. The board requests that individuals state their name and address for the record and asks that all remarks be directed to the board president or designee, not to individual board members or staff. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Hello?
I think you just have to keep it close.
Okay, thank you. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey, and the board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. If a matter concerning a district staff member is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, the superintendent of schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to all items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered. Each speaker's statement will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes in duration. Anybody like to address us tonight? Mr. George?
It's a very long line of one, so. Kyle George, Short Hills Court. The BOE is selecting a new member tonight. Here are some questions I think other BOE members should ask any candidate before voting. 1, what are the top priorities of the district when we think in terms of outcomes for our children? In other words, if you had to pick just one thing as the desired outcome, what would it be? I went to a public meeting of the strategic planning group last night. I've been to a few of them. And it was interesting to hear some of the opinions of the group when asked to brainstorm what to do about globalization and automation. Some mentioned collaboration. I agree, collaboration is important, but so is having a rigorous and resilient learning foundation to bring to the table as an individual. Is collaboration a top priority over other things? Some mention how things like equity need to be emphasized in order for students to be able to work in a global world. Is equity, equal outcomes for everyone regardless of circumstances, a top priority over other things? One thing I didn't hear much about was academic performance. I'd really like to know what any BOE nominee thinks is the top desired outcome. Question 2 I'd ask. Given all the controversy surrounding VP Aziz's anti-Israel tweets and public support of people who've made anti-Semitic statements, would you vote to elect her to a leadership position again? I think we can tell a lot about the character of an individual by their answer to this question. 3, would you vote to hire an independent investigator that is not associated with the district, NJSBA, or NJEA in order to restore confidence in our children's safety after the shocking revelation that a teacher recently overdosed on fentanyl at school in front of students? Fentanyl is an unbelievably deadly substance. The equivalent of 5 grains of sand is considered a lethal dose. As more information comes to light, it seems likely that at least some staff knew that this teacher allegedly had a drug problem for quite some time. I talked to families of current and former Roosevelt students, ages ranging from current student to college student, who all independently said that the teacher's room always smelled like pot. It wasn't a surprise to them that this teacher was using drugs, which begs the question, was it a surprise to staff? If students spanning 8 years all knew the teacher was allegedly using drugs, then I find it hard to believe that staff did not know as well. Did they report it to the principal? If so, was action taken? I hope so, because the district's policies require action. Policy 3218 paragraph B states that any staff member who has reason to believe that another staff member unlawfully possessed drugs or paraphernalia must report it to the principal. It further prescribes a precise procedure for investigation. You don't even need proof here, just reason to believe. This is not optional. This is an obligation of any staff member under policy. This issue does not just go away with the arrest of the teacher. The district must fully investigate the full timeline of events that culminated in his overdose on school property. I'd like to know if tonight's nominee or nominees would vote to hire an independent investigator to hold the district accountable to its own policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. All right, seeing nobody else come to the podium tonight, public comment is now closed, and we move on to our actions, our agenda action items for tonight. I'll give Matt a second to sit down. All right, at our November board meeting, Amy Root resigned her position as a board member, and we solicited, after her resignation, we solicited applications from members of the public to fill that vacancy. Tonight we interviewed 4 applicants rather, and after a robust discussion process, I believe we're ready to make name an appointment to fill Amy's seat for the remainder of her term, which will be up through April. At this time, do we have any nominations from members of the board for Sonal?
Thank you, Brendan. I'd like to nominate Kent Diamond based on his past experience on the board and his background in finance. I think he'd be a valuable asset and will be able to hit the ground running.
Thank you, Sonal. Do we have a second? Thank you, Layla. All right, any discussion on?
Any other nominations?
Sorry, any other nominations at this time? All right, nominations are closed, so let's discuss Kent. Mike?
Sure. I've been on the board for 3 years with Kent in the past, and I've known his background in finance greatly assisted us in forming our budgets over those 3 years when he was on the board. In addition, we only have 2 meetings before the election, so we needed someone that could really just hit the ground running, as Sonal had said, and just fill in for that gap till the election, and he just seems to check all the boxes for what we need to do in the interim. So I look forward to having Kent on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Layla?
Are we voting? We're discussing and then
We're
we're
discussing.
voting. Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to say that I think that all of the candidates who came out tonight were excellent, and it was really nice to have perspective from a variety of groups that are not necessarily represented on the current board, and I would encourage all the candidates who came out tonight to run in April. I think that Kent is the choice that makes the most sense for right now, due to his knowledge in finance, but also his understanding of how the board operates. There's no learning curve. He can hit the ground running, as Sonal said. So, but thank you to all the candidates who came out today. Really, your perspective and your insight is valued, and your interest. Thank you.
All right. Star?
Yeah. So I want to echo what Layla said in terms of thanking everybody who took the time to apply and took the time to interview. It was, I think, a difficult choice because we were very fortunate to have such qualified candidates. It was just another example of showing the wealth of expertise and commitment that we have among residents in Westfield. And I want to especially, recognize that many of the candidates have invested significant amount of time in the school board's activities and in the education of our town and in the district's activities, and none of that was not recognized I certainly recognized it. But again, it's really, in my view, it's about thinking about what just for the next 2 months until the elections and thinking about the best interest of the board. We have a very important operating budget process coming up. And so I think Kent Diamond is a very strong candidate for that very specific function.
All right. Thank you, Sahar. Kristen?
I echo Sahar and Layla in thanking our candidates. It was a difficult decision, but with the upcoming budget, I do agree that Kent would be our best choice for the moment. His experience in finance and also his experience in the Board of Ed, it was clear that he really understood how the board functions and what his role is on the board, and that will be really helpful for that seamless transition as we prepare to educate the public and get our budget passed for the next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Rob?
So I'm also in support of Kent. We had a process where all folks interviewed had same amount of time, very similar questions asked. So as level of playing field as you're going to get as far as getting information out about the things that are important to the district. And I have to agree. I was very impressed with with really everyone's response. It gave us a lot of different perspective and a lot of different thought process on it. And when it came down to it, looking at what we've, the time we have, the main functions that we have, the different budget process that we're going to go through this year for the first time in a long time, Kent's comments and qualifications, came out. A unique perspective, certainly for me, is someone who, has heard him talk. Kent was a candidate at the same time I was. And I just, I saw a lot of very positive things when we were both a candidate, and I saw some very positive things here as well. So I'm very happy to support his application.
Thank you, Rob. I believe everybody's commented at this point. Yeah. So, I echo everybody else's comments. First, thanking everybody who applied. There were 17 applicants total, and then the 4 applicants that came out tonight to interview. We're very grateful for the amount of support we have in this community from people who are willing to volunteer their time. But when it comes down to it, for me, experience does matter, especially going into the most complicated budget cycle we've had in a decade. And I don't mean complicated in terms of the numbers are hard, they are, and good luck, Patty. But in terms of knowing the role of a board member and helping sell that budget to the public. And when it comes down to that, Kent is the only one with no learning curve. He can come in on day one and be a full board member. And now we're gaining some back with Kent. So for that, I do support Kent as well. All right, if we are, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I really want to thank everyone that did submit their application for the board. And even if you're thinking about running for the board, you have until March 26th to go and file for running for the board this coming April. So we encourage you to do so.
March 6th,
What did I say?
26th.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I do encourage everyone, especially if you have younger children or you're just new to the community and want to get involved, it's a great opportunity to get involved. So thank you to everyone that applied.
Yep. All the dates around the election are on the board website. And I'm sure will be announced at every board meeting between now and the filing deadline.
There will be a resolution about it on the next week's agenda.
Even better. All right.
And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to us. You can email us individually. I'd happily speak with anyone or meet with anyone.
Regarding candidacy and being a board
That's
member.
what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I would speak with anybody, but specifically I was talking about candidacy, and if you have questions about your role as the board member, the time commitments, things like that, I thought that was really helpful when I was running for the board, and I would happily do that for anyone.
Thank you, Kristen. All right. If there are no other comments, Patty, can we have a roll call?
Sahar Aziz,
Yes.
Robert Bonaccio,
Yes.
Michael Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Leila Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Kristen Sonic Schmelz,
Yes.
Mary Wickens.
All right. So with that, Kent has been appointed to fill the remainder of Amy Root's term, and he will be sworn in, I believe, at the next board meeting, pending background check and all that stuff. All right. All right. All right. With that, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Did you second?
Where'd you get